Hello again, friends. In the last video we unboxed a Raspberry Pi 400 and installed an Amiga emulator in the Raspberry Pi OS's desktop. I mentioned that if you want to boot right into the emulator, you will have options in the future. And I am here to tell you that the future is now. I will be demonstrating DietPi on a Raspberry Pi 400, but the setup for other models of Raspberry Pi will be the same or very similar. What is DietPi, you ask? It is a stripped-down yet optimized version of the Debian Linux OS. And fortunately for us Amiga fans, they have a special version loaded with the Linux emulator of choice, Amiberry. So have a seat, relax, and let's get started. So let's just go to the DietPi website and find our download. As you can see, DietPi is available for tons of platforms. Let's select Raspberry Pi and DL Amiberry image. We're just going to create a folder on the desktop to extract the 7Z archive to. As I've shown in previous videos, I like 7-zip for extracting files. It's free and I highly recommend it. For imaging to the SD card, I like Win32 Disk Imager. Free, recommended. Start the imaging program and verify we have the correct drive target. Select our DietPi image and click Write. Before we proceed, we want to prepare a USB thumb drive with Amiga kickstarts and any software we want to run in emulation. I have Amiga Forever, so I will use those ROMs. So the default location of the Amiga Forever kickstarts is C drive, or whatever your OS is installed on, Users, Public, Public Documents, Amiga Files, Shared, ROM. We're just going to copy this folder to the thumb drive. I have a couple of my folders with games here already. Then we're just going to eject the thumb drive and get ready to boot the Pi. But we'll wait on inserting the USB drive. So here we are booting, and we get the automatic partition resize that many Pi OSs have. I have an error. This is because I do not have an Ethernet cable hooked up to my Pi. DietPi requires an internet connection to function, as it wants to update all its packages, and the wireless on the Pi is obviously not set up. If I had a wired connection, I wouldn't have to do a darn thing during the initial boot, other than wait for updates and installations to automatically complete. I'll show you that a little later in the video, but I recommend a wired connection for those who don't want to hassle with the Wi-Fi setup. Since there are inevitably those with wireless only, I will demonstrate that now, but skip this step if you have a wired connection. Fortunately, DietPi comes with a configuration utility to help us out. Type in dietpi-config and let's set up a few options. Select Network Options Adapters to set up our Wi-Fi. I am now going to disable the Ethernet adapter. Why, you ask? I had an issue where the update process would fail because it took too long to check for internet connectivity. It checks for wired connectivity, then for Wi-Fi, which is apparently too long for DietPi setup. I have spoken to the developer of DietPi and he confirmed that disabling the Ethernet was appropriate. So we see the Wi-Fi adapter is disabled. Let's select it and enable it. By the way, you need to hit the Tab key to move the selection to the two bottom options. It searches for DHCP, but it's not going to find it because we have one more step to do. Go back into Wi-Fi so we can connect to our network. Scan. It looks like it saves Wi-Fi network to slots. So let's just pick the first one. Here is my network called Fred. Top option is to enter the pre-shared key, our Wi-Fi password. Then press Enter. And tab twice to select Done. Make sure to set a country in this section. Wi-Fi will not function without a country being set. Alright, now we just need to apply our changes. Tab key and press Enter. I had problems with IPv6, so I'm going to turn that off too. And here at the bottom is a nice test option to make sure we have connectivity. Success! And tab twice and Enter key to go back. And tab twice and Enter key to exit. And another tab to select OK and press Enter. Now simply type reboot and wait. We can see we are getting farther now that we are connected to the internet. If you had a Pi hooked up with a wired connection, this is what you would see without lifting a finger. So grab a cup of coffee, use the restroom, because this will take a while. Just shy of 12 minutes by my watch. I'm going to speed this clip up so we don't have to sit here the entire time. I will use this opportunity to acknowledge the genius of this Amiberry package. DietPi is so named because the creators have gone to extreme lengths to create an OS image that contains only what is required to run Amiberry. This is in stark contrast to my previous video about installing FSUAE on the Raspberry Pi graphical OS. It is actually very cool that the makers of DietPi set the system to self-update and self-install packages. This ensures the highest compatibility and is probably the reason that it is the only Amiberry distro that actually works out of the box on the Pi 400 as of this moment. Yes, I know we've had to jump through hoops to get the Wi-Fi connected, and other distributions may have easier Wi-Fi setup. But disregarding Wi-Fi, if we had a wired connection, the setup would go the first time and you'd just be done without lifting a finger. I'm sure that soon Amiberry and RetroPie and others will natively support the Pi 400. But for now, this is the best. Once DietPi update is complete, the Pi reboots. Now you will notice we no longer see the normal Linux terminal output on the screen. Another thing done on purpose in order to give us the Amiga experience uninterrupted. In about 13 seconds, we have Amiberry. Well, we can't do much until we load some stuff. This is where Linux's anal retentiveness shows its ugly head. By default, most Linux distributions do not have auto mounting of USB drives. Linux is not inherently plug and play. Fortunately, DietPi has a drive manager program for mounting them. You just need to be careful what methods you use when inserting and ejecting the media once it is set up. You need to mount the drive when it is inserted and unmount it before you eject it. You can turn the Pi off and move the drive back and forth, but you better make sure to plug it back into the same USB port. I found these things out the hard way. After I had everything working, I booted the DietPi without the thumb drive. Amiberry wouldn't load, likely because I had pointed the kickstarts to the now missing drive. I inserted the USB stick in and tried again, but the mount was broken, and switching USB ports didn't help. In an attempt to fix things, I tried to use Drive Manager, but it just sat there scanning for USB forever. I tried mounting the drive manually, but nothing worked. I just decided to re-image the SD card and start over. I'm sure I would have figured it out eventually, but it's so fast to reinstall I went that way. We will be copying everything to the SD card, and we will make sure to unmount our USB to prevent issues. So click Quit in Amiberry and let's get started. By the way, if you just booted into Amiberry and clicked Quit right away, it will take a minute for the prompt to come up. The Pi is not locked up, it's just completing the loading process and we can't see it. The username is root and the password is DietPi, all one word, lowercase. The EULA message comes up, but only this first time. Now, plug your USB drive in and type in DietPi-drive_manager. It will search and find your drive. Here we see our drive, usually SDA1, and VFAT means FAT32 file system. We just need to press enter and we have the option to mount it. We also have the option of naming it something easier to remember. And remember the path where it is, in the MNT directory. And that is it. Hit tab a couple times, back, exit, OK. So to copy the files from our thumb drive to the SD card, we need a file manager. Type in DietPi-launcher. We can see the many utilities included with DietPi, including the drive manager we just used, as well as this file manager. So this is pretty clunky, but we'll be okay. We can move with the arrow keys and press enter to select. We just need to go back to the root directory, And if you remember, our thumb drive was mounted in the MNT directory. You can see that when we select to enter a directory, this program gives us options such as open the directory, rename, copy, move, delete, and change permissions. So we're just going to open it, and we see our USB drive there. Let's scroll down and open it. And we see our Kickstarts folder here. But instead of opening it, we are going to select Copy. Then we are navigating up one level, and there's a folder there called DietPi User Data. Let's enter that. And there is a directory in here called Amiberry. Let's enter that. And finally, we see our target Kickstarts folder. However, we actually need to go back up one level to copy our directory into the Amiberry folder in order to overwrite the old Kickstarts folder. And we see after copying that we now have a full Kickstarts folder inside Amiberry. Using the same method, I copied a directory called F to the DietPi user data directory. This is just a folder containing some test ADF floppy images. And we're done. I found out you can also press Escape to exit these DietPi utilities. Now we just need to unmount the USB drive, DietPi-drive_manager. So we're just going to reboot. And once Amiberry comes back up, we can see some options for changing the path to the Kickstarts. We just copied them to this default directory, so we don't need to change anything. There's also this button for rereading the ROMs if needed. So if we go to the ROMs page, we can see that our ROMs are all there for us to use. So it's time to test a game. Let me just change a couple things. Enable floppy sounds. Check horizontal and vertical centering. Speed up the floppy drive. And let's pick Frankenstein. By the way, you press F12 to get back to the Amiberry screen. On the Pi 400, this is function F2 because there is no room for a dedicated F12 key. Also, unique to the Pi 400, you can actually power the system on and off using function F10. To power on, you can hit it for 1 second, but powering off requires holding it for about 5 seconds. Well, if you followed along with success, congratulations! You have turned a Raspberry Pi into an Amiga. Stay tuned for the next video, where I show you how to boot right into Amiga software or even Workbench, thus completing our seamless emulation. Click the subscribe button so you don't miss it, and thanks for watching.